This is macOS Ken.
Cook says there's something in the air. TSMC announces a huge Arizona investment, and a new round of developer betas hits. It is Tuesday, the 4th of March, 2025. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Factor. Meals that are smart and delicious. Get 50% off your first box plus free shipping with code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSCan. So now we are all looking for a new MacBook Air this week. I told you Monday of Bloomberg's Mark Gurman hitting the hell site over the weekend, saying he expected the M4 MacBook Air to be introduced as early as this week. His post noted huge inventory reductions for the M3 MacBook Air, as well as preparations by Apple for a Mac-related announcement. But Gurman's not the only one with a Twitter handle. Teasing the new MacBook Air the same way he did the iPhone 16e a few weeks ago, a piece from Engadget had Apple CEO Tim Cook hitting the hell site himself on Monday. He didn't say much, just the words, "this week," captioning a video that said, "There's something in the air," with the word air split in half. A number of sites and sources, including Bloomberg's Gurman, think both the M4 MacBook Air and a new iPad Air are on the way soon. That said, no one seems willing to say the iPad will be refreshed this week. While inventory for that device is starting to dwindle a bit, a piece from iDownload blog shows that one is still in stock through Apple's online store. So an iPad Air this week is still up in the realm of uncertainty. A MacBook Air is practically a given. That's partly because of the low inventory, partly because it is the thing everybody's expecting, and partly because of the Apple video's turn of phrase. Daring Fireball's John Gruber pointed out Monday that the same wording, "there's something in the air," was all over San Francisco's Moscone Center ahead of Macworld 2008, when Apple introduced the original MacBook Air. As for when we'll hear more, this week is the only real indication. Apple's chip-making partner TSMC is upping its Arizona investment in a big way. The Taiwanese company issued a press release Monday announcing its intention to expand its investment in advanced semiconductor manufacturing in the U.S. by an additional $100 billion. That's on top of the ongoing $65 billion investment in the Phoenix, Arizona region. According to the release, the expansion includes plans for 3 new fabrication plants, 2 advanced packaging facilities, and a major R&D team center, solidifying this project as the largest single foreign direct investment in U.S. history. The firm says the expansion should support 40,000 construction jobs over the next 4 years and create tens of thousands of high-paying, high-tech jobs in advanced chip manufacturing and R&D. That would represent a significant increase from the roughly 3,000 people employed at the Arizona fab today. The TSMC release says the move underscores the company's dedication to supporting its customers, including America's leading AI and technology innovation companies such as Apple, NVIDIA, AMD, Broadcom, and Qualcomm. The second developer betas for the next round of Apple OS updates has hit. Mac Rumors says Apple on Monday seeded iOS and iPadOS 18.4 Beta 2 to developers, including for iPhone 12 and iPhone 16e. iPhone 16e was not out when the first round of betas hit, hence the significance of that one. As for iPhone 12, the first developer beta for iOS 18.4 kind of borked those, prompting Apple to pull the beta from availability. The same thing happened with iPadOS 18.4 and select iPads, including Wi-Fi and cellular versions of iPad 8, Wi-Fi and cellular versions of the 4th generation iPad Air, and all models of the M2 iPad Air. Fingers crossed that those issues have been fixed, since betas are back on the board for those machines. As for new features turning up, a piece from 9to5Mac lists a few tied to Apple Intelligence and Siri. According to that report, there are new controls in Control Center for talking to Apple's virtual assistant, typing to Apple's virtual assistant, and activating visual intelligence. Of those three, typing to Apple's virtual assistant was the only one available before. As for visual intelligence, 9to5Mac says its arrival in Control Center is particularly noteworthy since it opens up the feature to the iPhone 15 Pro line and iPhone 16e. Before the latest 18.4 developer beta, the feature relied on the camera control button in the iPhone 16 line. The Apple Vision Pro app has made the scene, according to another piece from 9to5Mac. That's the app that should let users quickly find information about their Vision Pro, assuming they have one, streamline the implementation of guest mode, access tips, and discover new content. When iOS 18.4 goes live for everyone, the Apple Vision Pro app should turn up automatically on the phones of folks who have one of Apple's headsets tied to their account. For people who don't, the app is expected to be available in the App Store. Also new in the latest betas, 7 ways to say what you want to say without words. Yet another piece from 9to5Mac says the second beta of iOS 18.4 brings 7 new emoji. I almost never use them, but I love New Emoji Day. Listing them alphabetically, the site says new ones on the way include face with bags under eyes. Yeah, okay, I could use that one quite a bit, actually. Fingerprint, leafless tree, root vegetable, harp, shovel, and splatter. More on the new developer betas in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, Factor, helping you optimize your nutrition. Food should do that, right? Optimize your nutrition. But we got these things called taste buds that make us want to have food that tastes good too. Factor does all of that. If you've got specific health goals in mind, menus like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto can help you along. Or, if you're just looking for great tastes, Factor's got you fed. I was way into the garlic and herb chicken breast with smoked cheddar cauliflower grits. It's like riced cauliflower with amazing flavor. Adding cheese tends to do that. Great sauces, great sides, great proteins, and it couldn't be simpler. Pop it in the microwave, and these chef-made, dietitian-approved meals are ready for you to enjoy. Try them and see. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That is code FACTORPODCAST, all one word, FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Making our way through the rest of yesterday's developer betas, Apple on Monday seeded the second developer beta of macOS Sequoia 15.4, along with the second betas of watchOS 11.4, tvOS 18.4, and visionOS 2.4. No new features for most of those between the first and second developer betas, visionOS not included. A piece from Mac Rumors writes up the Spatial Gallery app coming to Apple's headset. The piece says that'll offer a curated selection of spatial videos, photos, and panoramas from artists, filmmakers, and photographers. The beta may also offer a hint toward Vision Pro expansion plans. 9to5Mac says the latest visionOS 2.4 developer beta adds support for 2 additional languages, Italian and Spanish. Similar to HomePod, the piece says Apple only enables support for a new language in visionOS when it's about to launch Vision Pro in more countries. We'll wrap the day with a couple of Apple TV Plus announcements. First, news of an off-kilter comedy on the way. The Cupertino streamer issued a press release late last week announcing the series Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed. The release describes the series as a half-hour, darkly comedic thriller about a newly divorced mom who falls down a dangerous rabbit hole of blackmail, murder, and youth soccer. What's this show got going for it? 2 words, Tatiana Maslany, as seen in Orphan Black, and She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. So bummed that show did not get a second season, and no, I am not kidding. The 10-episode Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed hits Apple TV Plus whenever they're done producing and promoting it. And finally today, Friday Night Baseball's on the way back to Apple TV Plus. The Cupertino streamer issued a press release on that yesterday. According to the release, fans across 60 countries and regions can enjoy 2 marquee matchups every Friday night over 25 weeks, featuring enhanced production quality, expert commentary, and no local broadcast restrictions. First pitches for Apple TV Plus are Friday, the 28th of March. Game 1 will see the Baltimore Orioles host the Toronto Blue Jays. Game 2 will have the New York Mets visiting Texas to take on Houston. macOS Can, brought to you by me and sponsored by Factor. Get 50% off your first box plus free shipping with code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOScan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macoscan.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Cha.